we're here for the third day of the Romford Film Festival, and we just watched the brilliant Under the Blue. I'm here with both the writer and director of the film. If you can introduce yourselves and confirm your involvement there, please.
Yeah, my name is Ludwig, and I was the writer and director of this film as well as producer.
I'm James Curle, and exact same credits.
Fantastic, thank you. And we know the end of the film is based on a true story, but can you give us information about how it comes to pass?
Basically the story came about when it was in 2020 during the first summer during the pandemic, where we were able to meet people outside, and our friend whose story who experienced the true events was just telling us the story over a barbecue. We often get various cop stories, and they were telling us this one, and Linda and I sort of had this look to one another, and we kind of had a bit of a crap moment, because we'd sworn off we'd never do another short film again after our last one, and the perfect one just came and dropped in our lap, so we had to make it.
As you say, you co-wrote the film together. What was the process of you writing the story with it, and did you work with the woman involved in the piece originally?
Linda, you always do the first
I
sort
tend
of draft,
to do the first draft. Yeah, we tend to do. I mean, with this story, it was different because it was based on the true story, and we kind of structured the script around the events. So normally, if we don't have a structure from like a true story, we'll start sitting down together and beating out the story, and then I tend to do a first draft, and then James takes the scenes and takes them apart separately and puts them back together.
Okay.
Yeah, rewrite them
back and
until
forth
they're done.
several times until they're ready. Yeah.
And did you make any changes from the original story of how it happened to?
Yeah, we changed certain details, like we couldn't use, real details of the specificity of the crime and things like that. But we sort of, changed. They're similar enough so that they're still true to the events of the story, and maintaining the spirit of the true story. But yeah, we changed a few details. All the names are different, obviously.
Yeah.
And then we added things as well. So certain little details in the film, which are also based on real experiences, but just kind of consolidated into this one night. Which is, little things like the interactions that the protagonist has with other members of the public and things like that. Those are all things that happen generally, and then we just sort of cherry pick those and put them into the main story.
But also, you co-directed the film. What's your process for working together?
I think because we prep a lot, we tend to put all of the co-directing sort of happening in the prep time. But then I think it all goes back to storytelling. So we direct with whatever's best for the story. That's what we go forward with. And then on set, there's no real split. People tend to ask whether there's a split, whether there's one more doing this, and do you split tasks? And it's more, I suppose, it's more organic. Like sometimes we'll both go in and note both actors at the same time. Sometimes one of us will go to camera and the other person will go to actors, but there's no real...
It's usually determined by sort of what needs to be noted and who's closest to the person. So it's like, if I happen to be stood next to the director of photography, then I'm going to give the note. If Linda's closer to it's wherever we're trying to be as efficient and as fast as possible. We try not to second guess each other's input. So once we've done the prep, the shooting day is executing that prep, so we don't have to necessarily confer with each other on everything. It's literally just who can get there quicker and faster, and so we can get to the next shot.
And did you experience any difficulties during the filming though at all?
Many difficulties.
There were many difficulties. I suppose one thing was that because the production was killed by various different lockdown rules changing all the time, it was very difficult to film at a petrol station to begin with, let alone during ever-changing rules of how you could socialise, whether people were going to put perspex screens up or not. And so we were right in the middle of all of those things happening, and we were waiting for the new rules to come out every 2 weeks or so. So
we had numerous locations.
We had numerous locations. We were prepped to shoot at one location that dropped out, I think, 2 weeks before filming. So the film was prepped there, and then we were off again. So that was a really long process. And then I think when we actually filmed, we were prepping at this location from the winter, but somehow the dates kept shuffling, so we ended up with the last weekend where we were still able to film night times that would be long enough to have these 2 nights at the petrol station, which is what we had, and it was just enough to get all of our shots in before the sun would
The
come
actual
up.
opening shot of the film where the car rolls in was the only usable take of that shot, and literally it was the sun was coming up, and in the original raw audio there was like morning bird song and I think even in the grade, you know, we had to sort of like touch it down a little bit just because it was coming up, and Steph was panicking a lot because she was really tired. It was like we'd been filming for hours and she was really tired, and she had to, there was no stunt driver, so she had to like pull the car in.
Well, she's in the shot as
yeah,
well,
exactly. So she has to like pull the car in at just the right spot, and the camera, you know, Rory on camera had to get in at the right time, and focus had to be just right. And then she also had to act as well. So it was very like physically demand. Like she was very tired, and she had to do this performance. She had to get the beats right, and she had to swing into shot. It was like a reveal shot, so she had to swing in at just the right time, not a second too late or too early. And the one in the film is literally the only usable, and I think it was like the last take or
I
something
think that
like
was, and also I think the weekend after would have been too short to actually do the shoot. So we would have had to wait until the autumn, I think, to do it.
It was cutting it very close,
yeah.
Excellent. And what were some of your favourite moments during filming there?
My favourite moment of filming there was when we were doing the shot in the middle of the film when the camera tracks in and then starts tilting. Because that was one of those shots where we filmed it relatively early during the shooting of the film, and I remember it as the moment when the whole crew came together.
Right.
Because everybody was doing something, I was reading in lines to time things, James was cueing various different things. One of the cast members who was actually wrapped at the time was swinging a light across just because, you know, he volunteered to do it. And the first AD was doing the rolling motion, and everybody had a job. And when we completed that setup, there was sort of a real team spirit after that. It was a very special moment, I think, for the film, but it was maybe one of the most significant moments filmmaking for me, where it felt like, I don't know, there was a silence but also a connection between everyone that was really special.
Yeah. Mine's a little less special, but my favourite moment is we were filming, Ed was having his hair done for his first scenes, and we were filming something else downstairs, and he'd come between takes whilst we were filming this other scene, he'd come down and show like what the makeup and hair had done, and he looked very, very uncomfortable. He looked very sheepish and sort of a bit, I can tell Ed, when Ed, because you worked with him before, when Ed is unhappy with something, he gets very quiet and sullen.
You can always tell an actor who's unhappy in a costume.
And he'd had this hair done very sort of like, very smartly, properly done, all very tidy. And I said, oh, that, you know, I knew he wasn't happy. It wasn't. I didn't think it looked good on him either. So I kept on sending him back with the note of making, you know, ruffle it up, make it untidy, and it would just every time he'd come back down between takes, it would just be a little bit more untidy, and to the point where I just did it myself. I just went up to it and I ruffled it, and particularly the back of the hair. And I'm very proud of that, because you can see it in the film. There's this one close up where the back of his hair's on end, and it's like bed hair. And I was really happy with that. Ed was really happy with that, and the look on his face being happy with his hair makes me happy. I'm very satisfied by that.
And going to the audience here, do you have any questions from the audience at all?
Sorry, that wasn't a prompt. That was me clearing my throat, but I've got a mic in my hand. Sorry, I've got one for you.
Oh yeah.
Yes, please.
Steph Parry.
Yeah.
What an amazing performance. How did you get her in the project?
Well, we're friends with. We've known Steph for a really long time. So we met Steph when we were doing coaching or camera operating at the Actors. We used to do camera operating at the Actors Centre before we did coaching, and she was in one of the classes there. So we knew her then.
And she was actually meant to be in our film from 2018, Man of the Hour, that Ed was also in. Ed is playing the title character in that film. But she got herself cast on some kind of tour cruise thing, and wasn't actually in the country when we filmed it. So we said to her, well, we need to do something else together. She came back and we had some voice work left, so she's actually one of a really small singer voice role in that first film. So Steph was always somebody that we wanted to work with. And I think with this script, when we started having the idea, is she's a massive fan of crime dramas, anything crime on television, she'll have watched it all. And so when we'd come across the story, when I was writing the first draft, I was writing it with her in mind, I was writing it with Ed in mind, and so did James. And when the script went out to them, obviously they were the first people we sent the script to. Steph said, "This is Ed, right?" And then Ed said, "This is Steph, right?" Because they've known each other, because they keep bumping into each other for no reason whatsoever.
And
so
they went to Arts Ed together.
They went to the same drama school. They went to Arts Ed, and then intermittently through their lives, they've just cropped up in each other's lives. So it's been a weird journey with the casting of this, but yeah, so it's kind of meant to be in a weird way.
Great casting. Well done.
Thank you.
Have we got any questions here? Oh, hang on.
Hello, I just wanted to say congratulations on an incredible short film. I just can't believe the number of emotions I went through watching it, and I'm still slightly traumatised by the sadness of that poor child who 2 days prior had a mother and father, and now a dead mother and father about to spend a long time in prison, and whatever is that child's life going to be like. But I just wondered, when you filmed it in a public place at night with a police car and police officers in uniform, what were the logistics behind that? Turning up at a garage with real looking police cars and police uniforms.
There's a lot of there's several things we had to do. We had to get permission. We didn't need permission per se, but we had to notify the local police that we were filming there. So they basically, you had a phone call
One
with
of the
them.
most exciting things that happened for me during Clovis was the so you register all the activities. You say when you're starting filming, when you're ending filming, you get the permissions through for that. Those permissions are then shared by the film office, by the Kent Film Office, with the police in Kent as well, which is where we were filming. And so what happens is the shoot sets up at the filming when we came 8 p.m. or whatever. And we receive a call from the police at the petrol station to check in with us and say, "Are you there?" And we were like, "Yes, we're here. We're starting to film now." Because obviously we were using blues and all those things, so you have to put all of those things into the agreements. And then we started filming, and they checked in with us throughout the.
They were really hands off though. Like we never got checked up on after that period. And then there are things you have to do, like whenever you're not filming. So if the second that the actor is not doing a take, they have to be covered up with with a jacket or something like that.
You have to have clear filming in progress signs that
the police,
show that because we couldn't afford to close the petrol station. We had to make sure that the members of the public that were coming in and out of the shop at times were aware that there was no actual incident going on. So that's why filming signs and covering.
And then things like
signs.
police cars, like they get covered. So anything that's not in shot gets covered up. So like the police banner on the police cars and things like that, they get taped up. So when we were filming, not all of the car was visible. So on the other side of the car, there's just a massive black tape over the police signs and things like that. So, and then as soon as it would be finished, the guys that did the action cars, they'd cover it all back up again. Just little sensible things, but just always constantly having to, make sure that people just don't think that there's a real police officer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions here? Well, I reckon we can squeeze one more out.
Come on, guys.
They're very scared. They're very, very scared. Okay, I'm going to ask a question, and it's kind of like a follow-up to the email that I had with you guys.
Oh yes. Yeah.
So, Nicola Walker. casting of Nicola Walker,
Yeah.
I thought was really interesting because, with the greatest respect, that could almost be anybody. Could you sort of talk us through that process of picking up someone like Nicola Walker to do the role that she had in the film? Because, you know, it's that enclosed thing, isn't it? It's like, sorry, for those of you that don't know, basically, 3 years ago, Nicola Walker was in a film for the entirety of the film, didn't get nominated for Best Actress, and then you've got a nomination for Best Supporting Actress for essentially like a vocal role. And talk to us about that decision to get her for that role.
I think, I mean, I can't speak for James, but like, we've been great fans of everything that Nicola Walker has done and how she acts.
You can speak for me on that.
Okay, that's fine, yeah. And I think we're very aware of how people act and things like that. We're very interested in that. So she's always been somebody that we would have, would love to work with. But then on top of that, as we were making this film, we sort of kept thinking of her because we were thinking, well, she is sort of in terms of British crime, like those were influences for what the film looks like or what the film feels like. So it felt like, her performances were in some ways, whether she wanted it to be that way or not, connected to the film, right from the beginning. And we hadn't cast that role. We'd always said that we were going to cast that role in post-production. We were going to make the film, and then we were going to see who would resonate with that film. And so Nicola Walker's name kept coming up between James and I, and wanting her as a voice in the film, and that's what we did. She was the only person we reached out to in post-production, and she got back that same day, I think, and said that she watched the film, which at that point was in a rough cut, and that she'd love to do it. So yeah, it's one of the casting of this has really been a kind of a meant to be kind of situation for us, I think.
It's a real blessing.
Yeah.
And how many awards have you picked up so far?
So here at Romford, we've got nominations. We've got nominations for Best Actress for Steph Parry. We've got Best Actor for Ed White. We have Best Supporting Actress for Nicola Walker. And we have Best Editing for Tom White. Ed White and Tom White, actually, fun fact, are brothers. So that's also fun. So that's them both nominated in the same selection here.
But what about in the real world?
Other than that,
So
awards.
the question was how many awards?
How many awards have we got now? 7?
6 or 7?
7, I think.
7.
Yeah. So 7 wins out of, I think, 40 nominations at this point. So
That's a 50% success rate.
that's a 50% success rate.
It's
Yes.
amazing.
They're across various different departments. So we've had, but I think the ones that we're the most proud of is that we've just won in the American Pavilion Emerging Filmmaker Showcase during the Cannes Film Festival. We just won the Best Short Film Jury Prize, which is the second time we've won that, because Man of the Hour in 2018 also won this incredible prize. And we've picked up the Wolf Award for Best Film Overall in Wolverhampton. We've got Best Short Film, Best UK Short at Unrestricted View. We've had Best Crime at Beeston, and that's all come in, I think, over the last month or so. So the film clearly connects with an audience, which is, I think, the best thing you can wish for a true story. To go out to an audience, for them to connect with it, and to share in that in what they took from the story.
Amazing, well done. Thank you.
And do you have any other projects you're working on at the moment? Going forwards?
Yes, we've got quite a few projects in development. There is a couple of TV projects we're working on. One of them is a crime drama for those that enjoyed Under the Blue. And we have 3 feature films in different stages of, some are on the first draft, some are on the second draft that are due to be submitted and things like that. So we're interested to see what is the next one, because we can't quite tell at the moment, but it could be any one of those.
Excellent. And if someone's looking to get into filmmaking, what advice would you give them?
to quote Tim Allen, never give up, never surrender.
Is that Galaxy Quest?
That is Galaxy Quest, because that was basically rattling around our brains for the last 4 years just making this film. I think it's a constant process of perseverance. I think anyone who wants to get into filmmaking needs to know that it's really, really tough but really rewarding. That there are a million reasons not to do it, but one very compelling reason that I can't quite word right now, so we'll just
More
pretend.
like a feeling.
Yeah, it's more like a feeling. But so yeah, there's going to be a lot of people around you that are very cynical or are not, not believing, and you need to not listen to them and just keep going. And surround yourself with lovely people, like the people in the back row there, who are all believers. Yeah. Make friends with people like that.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.